If you're watching this video, then I'm guessing that you, like me, have always been fascinated by the pyramids. Ever since I was a little kid, I was amazed by the fact that these gigantic blocks of stone were built so precisely thousands of years ago, and I wasn't the only one. The Great Pyramid of Giza fascinated many scientists, historians, and researchers throughout the centuries. But although we know quite a lot about them by now, there are still some secrets that remain hidden to this day. In today's video, we're going to be looking at some of the strangest facts that will blow your mind and might just prove that there is still a lot that we do know about the pyramids. Make sure to stay until the end if you want to find out just how massive they really are. But before we get started, be sure to hit that like button for more videos. Although it's commonly known that the pyramids of Egypt were built as tombs for the pharaohs, most people don't know who actually built them. In fact, this is a common misconception, because throughout history, many believe that it was King Solomon who ordered the construction of the pyramids. This is, of course, highly unlikely considering that King Solomon lived between 970 and 931 B.C., while the oldest pyramid, the Red Pyramid of Giza, was built around 2600 BC. There's also evidence that suggests that these structures weren't used as tombs, but rather as a way to connect the pharaohs with the gods. For example, according to a recent discovery made by Dr. Mehdi Toubi from the University of Vienna, the ancient Egyptians believed that the first pyramid was created by the god Khufu. This is based on an inscription found on a piece of wood inside the pyramid that reads, "The soul of Khufu lives. Wake up in peace, O Khufu, for you are united with Ra." However, it seems that this theory has been debunked by researchers at the University of Warsaw, who claim that the text is nothing but a modern forgery. Who made the pyramids? Considering that the Red Pyramid is almost 5,000 years old, you can imagine how difficult it is for us to determine who was actually responsible for its construction. We do know that it was during the 4th dynasty when the majority of the pyramids were built, including the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's believed that the ruler at the time, Pharaoh Khufu, decided to build the largest and most spectacular pyramid in honor of himself. However, even though he likely ordered its construction, it doesn't mean that he directly gave instructions on how to build it. After all, building a pyramid was a very complicated task that required the knowledge of advanced mathematics, engineering, and astronomy. So it's likely that Khufu had a team of experts working on his behalf. One of these experts could have been a man named Hemion, who some believe was the actual engineer behind the construction of the pyramids. According to legend, he was a brilliant mathematician and astronomer who was able to accurately predict the flooding of the Nile River, as well as the annual journey of the sun. This, of course, would have been very useful when building the pyramids, as the structure itself is aligned with the cardinal points of the compass and the stars that surround them. Fortunately, not much is known about him, and many historians believe that he never actually existed. What's inside the Great Pyramid? By far the most famous of all the pyramids in Egypt is the Great Pyramid of Giza. This is not only the oldest of the 7 wonders of the world, but it's also the largest and the only one that still stands today. Throughout history, many people have tried to sneak inside the pyramid in order to uncover its secrets. But it wasn't until 1872 when a thorough investigation took place. When British engineer Wayneman Dixon entered the pyramid, he discovered a shaft leading down into darkness. He explored the tunnel and came across 3 antechambers. However, after hitting a dead end, he decided to dig through the wall. What he found was another shaft that led to the Queen's chamber, where he discovered the sarcophagus of Queen Hetepheres. He never actually discovered the final resting place of the pharaoh Khufu. In fact, the mystery surrounding the burial chamber remains to this day. Some believe that it hasn't been discovered yet, while others think that it was purposely destroyed. However, this doesn't explain why or how. Interestingly enough, it's believed that the answer to this mystery lies within the Great Sphinx. Many researchers believe that the pharaoh's final resting place is located right beneath the paws of the Sphinx. And while no one has been able to confirm this yet, it's definitely an interesting theory. Where are the pyramids? As I mentioned earlier, most of the pyramids are located in Egypt, but did you know that you can find them all over the world? For example, there are a total of 118 pyramids in Sudan, 103 in Mexico, and 60 in South America. You can even find pyramids in lesser-known places such as Bosnia, France, China, and England. But let's take a step back and focus on the ones in Egypt, Did you know that you can find them all along the Nile Delta? The majority of them can be found near Cairo, which is why the capital was moved to the city of New Cairo in 2020. Of course, the pyramids in Giza aren't the only things worth visiting. You can also explore the Great Sphinx, numerous temples, and the Valley of the Kings where most of the Egyptian pharaohs were buried. All of these sites make up what's known as the Giza Plateau, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. How big are the pyramids? This is where things start to get really interesting. Most people tend to underestimate the size of the pyramids, assuming that they're not all that tall. But the truth is that they were truly gigantic structures that were built without the use of any modern technology. In fact, the largest pyramid ever built, the Great Pyramid of Cholula in Mexico, is over 66 meters high and covers an area of 450,000 square meters. On the other hand, the tallest pyramid in Egypt is the Pyramid of Khafre, which reaches a height of 143 meters. If you're wondering why it's taller than the Great Pyramid of Giza, it's because its construction was never finished. This is why the last point on its roof collapsed, shortening its height. Still, it's safe to say that these pyramids were some of the tallest human-made structures for many centuries. Why did they build the pyramids? Now that we know who built the pyramids and how big they really are, you might be wondering why they were built in the first place. As I mentioned earlier, it's believed that they served as tombs for the Egyptian pharaohs. However, this isn't entirely true because not all pyramids were used as tombs. In fact, some of them were built as temples, while others were used as platforms for obelisks. There's even evidence that suggests that the pyramids were used as fortresses. This is due to the fact that some of them have secret tunnels and chambers that could have been used to store weapons and food. The construction of the pyramids was also quite peculiar because it didn't follow a linear timeline. For example, the first pyramid, the Red Pyramid, was built in the 27th century BC. Then there was a gap of around 400 years until the next pyramid was built. This pattern continued throughout history. Sometimes there were two pyramids being built at the same time. Construction of the pyramids also followed a strict hierarchy. The larger the pyramid, the higher the status of the pharaoh. They were also built using the most advanced technologies available at the time. This included the use of ramps, levers, and pulleys. The builders also had an in-depth knowledge of geometry and astronomy, which allowed them to align the pyramids with the stars and constellations. Now it's time to make your voice heard. Comment below and tell us which fact surprised you the most. Did you know that there are pyramids all over the world? Or perhaps you had no idea just how massive they are? Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing content. Thanks for watching.